speak English? No English? No, ¿qué pasa? No.
The passenger has just come in off the flight from Hong Kong. He says he's here for 3 days. We're a little concerned because it seems unusual for somebody to come all that way for 3 days.
You can see a normal bag will be sort of clear, right? This one here, you can see it's loaded with packages throughout the bag.
The officers are suspicious of the passenger and his luggage. Things just aren't weighing up.
What's his status? He's a citizen. Okay.
Immigration compliance officers are performing a vehicle
Citizen.
check with the focus on taxi and shuttle bus drivers, trying to identify illegal workers.
I'm just going to call for the van to come over. What nationality?
Ukrainian?
Yeah, Raj, can you get the van over here ASAP, please? We've got one. Okay, thanks.
Every week, the Immigration Compliance Unit does operations like this.
Driver of the shuttle bus just over here has been identified as holding a bridging visa E, which is basically no work. So I'll just wait for the van to get around because it's a busy roadway area. I don't want to sort of pull him out of the van and have him hanging around loosely. He may decide I might try a bolt or something like that. It's not really a good area for that. Here comes our van now. I'll get him to pull the van in and we'll approach him. Can I get you to accompany me, please?
Transport. This gentleman here would like to talk to you for a few minutes.
How are you, sir? Can I just ask you to step out of the vehicle for me, please? Just need to have a bit of a chat with you. Just over onto the curbside here for me, thanks. Okay, just walk down this way, thank you.
This passenger arrived from Hong Kong, and customs officers are checking his overweight suitcase.
Yeah, seeing the image, yeah, it looks like there's something concealed on the side, but something organic may not be drugs. We just suspect that at the moment. The dog can confirm that, and so can our own scan machine potentially. And the gentleman doesn't speak any English, so we're going to try and get an interpreter.
Doing the one scanner?
Yeah.
The ion scan is able to detect the smallest particle of a narcotic substance. However, it has failed to detect any trace.
Came up negative on the ion scan. Get the dogs to
The
do
X-ray
around.
was pretty positive.
Oh,
wasn't it?
yeah.
With those images on the X-ray, the officers want to make sure that they haven't missed anything.
Yeah, we believe there may be some drugs in the side of this suitcase. We're now going to run one of our dogs on it to see if they get a reaction from it as well, and we'll probably do some other tests.
With a nose over 100 times more sensitive than humans, these drug detector dogs are trained to react if the bag has been in contact with narcotics. Immigration compliance officers have just caught Oli red-handed. He's driving a shuttle bus with a visa that does not allow him to work here.
How long have you been driving the shuttle bus for, sir? 1 year? Okay. Just need to have a chat to you about your work. Just take a seat for me, please, sir. No. In the front. In the front, Raj. Can you tell me what sort of visa you have?
I see.
Do you know what the conditions on that visa are, sir?
Condition?
Sorry?
Sorry?
Can you tell me what the conditions on your visa are?
It's okay.
Do you understand what I'm actually saying to you? Yeah, you understand me okay? According to our records, sir, the bridging visa that you hold is subject to condition 8101. Now, in short, that condition says that you must not work in Australia. Quite clearly, as you've just admitted to me, and as we've observed you, you are working. At this point in time, you will have to remain here. You understand everything I've just explained to you?
Friday morning at Sydney Airport. This is the busiest time of the week for quarantine. Flights from 20 countries will arrive before noon. Over at X-Ray 1, they're processing passengers who are considered high risk for bringing prohibited goods into the country.
When this gentleman came through, he was asked what he had because he's ticked yes to the card, which is in his own language. Basically, all he told us he had was noodles, and the X-ray showed up the eggs, as well as some of the other things like bark, which is also a prohibited item, as well as some fresh ginger root, which is also prohibited and also very high risk.
But it's the eggs which are of most concern.
They're actual duck eggs. These are duck eggs, they're preserved. At the moment, they're a very high risk item because there's an avian influenza bird flu. And the country it's coming from is China, where the actual bird flu is, and that's where it's the most virulent at the moment. So it's very important that we obviously get these.
Because it's his first time in Australia, Stephen's inclined to go easy.
Tina, can you just explain to the gentleman why we can't bring the eggs in and the ginger?
Meanwhile, just outside the terminal, the Immigration Compliance Unit has just detained a Ukrainian man suspected of working illegally.
Okay, this gentleman holds a visa to be in Australia lawfully. However, the visa is subject to a strict no work condition. He's obviously been located here today driving a shuttle bus. He's admitted to me he has been driving that shuttle bus for the company for the past year or so. So that would apparently put him in breach of the no work condition. We will now move on to interviewing him regarding the possible cancellation of his visa. If at the end of the interview the visa is not cancelled, he will be allowed to go on his way. If, however, we find that he has breached his visa conditions substantially and the visa is cancelled, we would then have to move on to considering whether or not to either detain him and take him to Villawood.
Just the eggs.
This Chinese passenger has arrived with undeclared food. Quarantine's role is as much about education as it is enforcement. So this time, officers are considering waiving the fine.
His English is quite poor, so we're going to give him the benefit of the doubt for it, and he has ticked the yes, so I'm just explaining him why he can't have it.
I can do that for you.
Okay.
He was nearly on his way, with just a warning. That is, until officers found something else in his bag.
Okay, we've just found something which appears to be concealed. So could you ask the gentleman what it would actually be?
It's not drugs, but it's illegal and can be very destructive.
Okay, so what we have here is just looks like bok choy or one of the Chinese stir-fry vegetables. Just looking at it straight away, I can tell you that they're not allowed in. Okay, so have you asked the gentleman why it was left just here?
He explained to you that the quilt was packed by his brother.
If it was packed by his brother, I don't understand why he would need to actually package it right inside the thing. To me, personally, I believe it to be more likely to be a concealment. And I think that it would probably warrant a quarantine infringement for it, personally. For not declaring certain items.
This passenger has just flown into Sydney from Hong Kong. However, at the moment, he is probably wishing that he missed his flight.
The dogs that ran on the bag are very new dogs, but they all gave an indication that there was something in there.
Good boy, Levi. Good dog.
Time is running out as the officer decides to involve the Australian Federal Police.
We've got a guy this morning, and looks like he's got a loaded bag, a couple of kilos in the size of his bags.
Yeah, we don't know what the narcotic is at the moment, but it's an obvious large amount, and the street value will be very large. He's stated he's a pensioner, so he obviously doesn't have much money himself, and he seems to have been recruited off the street, if anything. A lot of couriers are recruited who need money, either because of gambling debts or because they don't have money, and they're quite vulnerable to being picked up as couriers. Just frisk him with the Spanish frisk card, and then after you frisk him, there's something there, then we'll take him over and interview room from there. We'll get AFP to get an interpreter.
We're going to conduct a frisk to look for, again, any further possible concealments of narcotics and any contact details or addresses that he might have on him. Need you to read both sides of this card. Here or in room? You. search.
With this gentleman here, he doesn't speak any English, so what we're trying to do is get an interpreter, so he fully understands his rights before we question him about what we suspect is narcotics in his baggage.
I'm going to caution the gentleman and you say it in Spanish, whatever I say. We believe you have committed an offence.
Él cree que has cometido un error aquí, entrando.
By importing narcotics.
Importando droga.
You do not have to say or do anything.
With all the evidence pointing to a narcotic concealment in his bag, this passenger's day is about to get a whole lot worse. Ukrainian national Oli arrived in Australia 5 years ago on a 7-week temporary visa. He didn't leave when that period expired and has now been caught working illegally.
It's very problem to visit Australia. And I went for visa. It's 4.5 years. It's nothing. Immigration told me, more. That's it. Enough. For me, enough.
For Oli and the many like him, being caught by immigration is not really a case of if, but more like when.
Obviously, knowing that he has breached that visa condition, he would anticipate that we are going to be interviewing him with regards to cancellation for that visa. So obviously he wouldn't be feeling very good at the moment. He'd be distressed, he'd be upset, yes, absolutely.
As news travels of Oli's detention, a co-worker comes out to the airport to comfort him.
He's a good person. I think he was expecting this day to come. I'm just very surprised with the Australian government and their immigration policies. She deserves a chance to live in peace and have their family next to them. And that's what he was trying to achieve for 5 years. He applied for visa for 3 times, I think, and he's been refused every single time. With these qualifications, he's a doctor. And I thought that Australia needs good employers.
Meanwhile, in customs, it's well over an hour since this man's plane landed, and in that time, literally thousands of people have been cleared to cross the border. This passenger, however, is still being searched.
We're going to get him frisked, make sure he's got nothing else on his body. We're doing a couple of tests to try and get an indication of what is in there. We believe it's a powder, just by the images on the X-ray itself show that it is a powder, but whether it's heroin or cocaine, we're still to determine. There appears to be a concealment in both sides of the bag. As you can see, there's quite a number of cracks in the concealment, which would suggest to us that it's actually powder that's fallen away from the actual baggage or the packaging that's within that baggage. Because we've got this concealment here, we'll take this to a tool room and we'll put a small gimlet in the concealment to extract a small amount of the powder, and we'll test to see what it is. We're not getting any reaction from one of our other tests, but this will give us a good indication of what the powder is.
It's now just a matter of brute strength to find out if customs suspicions are right. Over in quarantine, officers are confiscating a large amount of food from this passenger.
The more we look, the more we find with this guy, and he knows what he's doing. He's concealed these things. You don't automatically pack your seeds and things inside your bags and hide them for no reason. People do strange things. It's if you wrote a book about the weird things people do, no one would believe you. They put it in the fiction section, but they do it.
但是没有任何的记录，都是跟违例派车一样，好吗 ？Okay. After I explained to him the situation, I explained to him what he has done wrong, and he was really very happy to cooperate. And he did apologize to us, and he was very happy to pay the fine, and he will not do it again.
The passenger was fined $220. That's an expensive way to start your holiday. Oli has been taken to an office for a formal interview. This is his last stand.
If his visa is cancelled and he may go into detention, how would that impact upon him? What hardship would he suffer as a result of that visa cancellation.
Oli has all but given up. The last 5 years without his family have been too emotionally draining. He misses his wife and his 10-year-old daughter, and now he just wants to go home.
All right, I'm just giving Ollie a couple of minutes to think over his responses. He is missing his family, and ultimately I think his wish is that they could come out here to Australia in order to be reunited with him, but at the moment they are not sufficient grounds. The hardship he believes he would suffer as a result of visa cancellation, and if he does go into Villawood, is that he would lose hope of his family being able to come out here and join him, as he would feel that that would be the end of that hope for him and he would have to return home. Is that correct? Yeah, okay. Can you please notify Ollie that I have decided to cancel his visa. He will be taken to Villawood Immigration Detention Centre later this afternoon.
It could be the longest drive in Oli's life. A 40-minute trip from Sydney's domestic airport out to Villawood Detention Centre. After years of dodging the Immigration Compliance Unit, Oli's plight is over.
Okay, Ollie, how are we doing? Just want to grab your bag for me, please, mate? Okay. Just come through this way for us, okay? Okay, just pop your bag down over there for us. Okay. Ollie, can I just get you to step over here for me for a moment? I'm going to ask you if you'd like to sign this. What this is, it's an information pack on your rights whilst you're in detention. 2005. Okay, now whilst you are in detention, I'll just draw your attention, it's going to cost you $125 per day whilst you're in detention. That does not include the first day nor the last day of your detention, but every other day in between. Okay, if you don't pay that, it will become a Commonwealth debt, and you wouldn't be able to be granted a visa or return to Australia until such time as you pay that off in full. That's for you to read, okay? I'll keep hold of this one. I think he's relieved. The impression I got very, very strongly was that he's very relieved that he knows or has a clearer idea on where his future is going to be heading in the immediate future, rather than maybe a sense of apprehension or uncertainty. So I think he is relieved, yes. I think everyone would sort of agree that it's probably more comfortable to spend your last few days in any country outside of detention or in a sense of freedom. I mean, certainly he'll be well looked after, but I think anybody would choose as an option not being in a detention centre.
Very happy. Of course not. No, of course not.
During the interview with me regarding the cancellation of his visa, he did indicate that he might even possibly be better off in detention. His reasons were that he'd been sleeping in the rear of the vehicle that we actually located him working in.
Oh yeah, sometimes sleeping in my bus. Sometimes bus, sometimes friends.
I know he's missing his family. It's quite unusual that the person will actually say to us, I think I'd actually be better off in detention rather than out of detention.
Oli chose not to follow up any further court action in relation to him staying in Australia and was flown back to the Ukraine the following week.
Australia, very good country, nice country.
Over in customs, officers suspect this passenger has brought a large amount of drugs into the country. They need to take a much closer look at his bags to see if drugs are hidden deep inside the shell of the suitcase.